Okay. Welcome to Women of the Stars with Cosmic Mama. And here we got Terri Smith. Today we're going to discuss the Thiaoouba prophecies with Samuel Chong. I had a chance to read the book I probably went through it like 2 or 3 times after I lost my signed copy in Egypt, and I felt so guilty, but I had to go get another one, and then I listened to it online. So I'm definitely supporting the book. Terri, did you also have a chance to read it?
I did have a chance to read it. I don't have the hard copy, but I did read the PDF and I enjoyed it thoroughly. And I'm excited to talk
I
with
know because
Samuel today because it's really a amazing adventure that Michel went on, and so it'll be interesting to get Samuel's take on all of this.
yeah, I wonder what it would be like to come back and tell your family that you had a complete off-world experience and you met all these people, and now what? And then to write the book and have your family look at you like, are you really going to do this? Are you really going to press the button on this? When I saw Samuel, I've seen him around on other people's channels, but then I had a chance to see him speak live at the Journey to the Truth conference, TruthCon in 2023, and he talked about chromography. I guess how colors affect people, different things. I guess the thing about this book is introducing many topics, and so I believe that he's done a lot of research on each thing that covers inside the book. So I will introduce and bring to the stage Samuel Chong. Hi,
Hi,
how
Samuel.
are you?
Hi. Nice to see you.
Man, it's very
Nice to
nice
see
to
you.
see you too. What part of the world are you in?
I'm in Los Angeles right now.
Oh, wow. So what I've noticed is that you are really passionate about this book. This is a personal project of yours. But before you read this book, I would just like to know how old were you when you first read it? And what were you doing? Why did you even pick this book up off the shelf? And then we'll get more into who you are now. But who were you then? That's what I'd like to know.
I see. The first time that I read the book was in 2014 when I was 35 years old. That's about 10 years ago. And I was very curious about all the books related to the information revealed by the ETs that came to visit us and to really inform us of how we can improve ourselves. So I was looking for advanced information or knowledge from the ETs, thinking that if I have the knowledge, information, I can just be better than anyone else just to get things moving ahead of everyone else. So that's the intention that I had at that time. Actually, I had the intention since I was very little, since I was very young. I was always looking for information from the outside, specifically from the ETs. Um, so I was searching on Amazon for books such as this, and I read a lot of the books before, the abduction stories by many different authors about the grays, the implants, and things like that. Those are very scary stories. Actually, I didn't like those because um, I think the ETs are generally benign, and they would help us instead of harming us. So that's my basic idea at that time. And then I found this book. Back then, it was titled Abduction to the Ninth Planet. And I thought it's just another book that let me check it out to see what it says in the book. But I was kind of very astonished that at that time the book was selling very expensively on Amazon. So I checked it out from a library through interlibrary loan service, and I read it. Was traveling in Los Angeles just on the metro, but I was astonished at the content, especially the chapter on who is Christ. It answered all my questions about religion, about Christianity, about how the stories in the Bible actually occurred or happened. So it made me believe that everything written in the book was true, and because it just not only answers so many questions, but also a lot of the mysteries in the world, such as the Great Pyramid of Egypt, the Bermuda Triangle, the statues on Easter Island, and also the politics and the real dangers on Earth, which are in the order of importance. Number one, money. Number two, politicians. Number three, journalists and drugs. Number four, religions. So I was astonished. And that's what happened.
Erica, you muted.
This is my first time on stream, y'all. So I'm learning, but I think I was doing the same thing on Zoom. So anyway, so had you gone to college before that, or what personally affected you to start studying ETs? Is that like a common thing among your family or your demographic where you were growing up? Is it like, because a lot of people don't even believe in aliens and that there's things going on beyond what they can see here on Earth. So how did you even come to the point where you thought, okay, this is worth study, worth paying attention to?
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in China. There are actually two reasons why I was so much into this. The first reason was that in China, there are a lot of like fairy tales or science fiction novels. One of the most famous ones is Journey to the West. So there are kind of god and goddesses that can fly in the sky, and they can kind of do a lot of extraordinary abilities such as transformation or maybe like supernatural abilities that kind of Christ performed. So it's a very interesting story and novel in China. And the second reason is that in China back then in the 80s, the government, believe it or not, was quite open to the information of UFOs or ETs. So there was actually a very famous journal or magazine called UFO Magazine, which was really popular back then. And I checked it out and found that a lot of very interesting stories, such as information conveyed to a physicist by the ET, saying that there are three mistakes made. Actually, there are three fundamentals in the Einstein's relativity theory, but there's a small mistake on the third theorem, in which if that mistake is corrected, then people would realize that we can travel at a speed faster than the speed of light. So such information is very, very kind of interesting to me. Back then, I was very curious about that.
And when you say movies, one of my favorites, like Stephen Chow, he's amazing. What he shows. But there's still a movie that I'm looking for that I watched a long time ago, and there was a lot of witches, a lot of like there was an egg and little snakes born out of the egg, and a lot of like things where people can fly or run up the building, and I used to really that really used to attract me to watching all kung fu theater and anything of that nature, because that I definitely think that made me a believer that we had more power inside of us than what we really did. Terri, I didn't know if you had anything to add to that.
So yeah, just going back, Samuel, what did you study? You know, as a young person, I don't know what part of China you're from, if you want to tell us, but what did you study? I mean, you obviously have an inquisitive mind and a scientific mind, so you want to understand, and this is sort of a leap of faith for you to move into something that's more esoteric. So you know that this is always interesting to see what brings this young student into this other playing field that is not mainstream.
Yeah, so I was born in Beijing, China, and I went to elementary school and middle school in China. I was in the talent, like mathematics talent student pool, in which they gather all the special students and talented students into one class. But I came to the US in 1993. I went to newcomer high school in San Francisco, and then Los Angeles, Alhambra High School, went to UC Berkeley, studied economics. In my last year, I went to London School of Economics and studied economic history, thinking that if I learn the history, I can just make more money because I would learn all the lessons in history. And and I also went to Spain and studied financial analysis, thinking that I can learn a major language while getting a master's degree in Spain. Because in Spain, it only takes about 1 year to get a master's degree. I thought that's a good deal. Doesn't waste a lot of my time. And so I did a lot of studies, and I was a paralegal. And also I did a lot of translation and interpretation work for the court system in Los Angeles, the state court and federal court. And also I took a lot of classes, and I just graduated from law school, so I think they're going to give me a JD degree. So yeah.
Wow. You're muted, Erica.
I can totally see why this book connects to you too, because they do talk about math and they talk about science and the political state of the world, like what would bring peace to the world. So when you read the book, now what happened? Like, why did this book, why put so much effort into this book versus any of the other books that you were reading at the time?
Yeah, because this book has a lot of specific verifiable facts that really made sense to me. For example, I read a lot of other ET contactees books, and including a lot of other spiritual books, such as Conversations with God, and those are really, really good books. But I was specifically looking for specific and verifiable facts that people in the scientific community can verify and prove. And this book contains a lot of such information. For example, it talks about the Great Pyramid of Egypt being an energy center that the users, the ancient pharaohs, used it as a way to communicate with people on other planets. So modern scientific research shows that the pyramid structure, in a way, concentrates energy in a very special manner. So it's consistent with this book, Thiaoouba Prophecy, which it says that the Great Pyramid gathers or concentrates terrestrial and cosmic energies, so that the users can send out the energies through the top of the pyramid to other worlds. And also it can also be made or used to make rain. So there are a lot of corroborating evidence on that as well, because University of Reading in the UK had a study in which they projected certain energy, what they call the organ energy, into the sky in order to make rain. And they have a very interesting theory or hypothesis of why that happens. So a lot of evidence or information like this that people can verify. Another evidence or specific fact that this book talks about the tomb of Jesus in Shingo Village, Japan, in which very few people knew about that. And it really explains why some people say that Jesus went to India during his missing years. And this book explains that in a very logical and consistent manner. And everyone can go to Japan, go to Shingo Village, and to visit the tomb of Jesus. And there's absolutely no reason for the honest Japanese people to fake a tomb of Jesus. There's just no reason, no benefit for them. So I think this book is a book that everyone should take a look.
And so when you read the book, so you started to research these facts, at some point you decided to meet Michel.
Yes, because I was so astonished at the content of the book, and after I read the main text of the book, I read the postscript. Michel Desmarque mentions in the postscript that saying that there are more incredible things that he was not allowed to write about because we were far from understanding them. That got me extremely curious and actually a little bit upset. I was very interested in knowing what else he knew but couldn't write in the book. Why didn't he just put everything he knew in the book, but leaving this kind of like a teaser for people to explore further? So at that time, I decided to track him down to ask him in person what else he knew but couldn't write in the book.
So when you tracked him down, where did you track him down, and what was the result of your meeting with him?
So I decided to search his name on the internet and to see if he was still alive or not. That's actually my main concern. I was so afraid of him passing away, just like Barbara Brennan, the former NASA scientist and who can see auras and human energy fields. By the time I found out about her, she already passed away. But I learned that Michel Desmarque was still alive, and some of the tourists saw him in Vietnam, on an island in Vietnam, but they were not able to reveal exactly where he was at that time, because according to them, Michel Desmarque, the author of the book, was a very private person. He didn't want people just to look for him. And I was kind of a little bit disappointed, but I decided to do additional research, just like a private investigator, just to see exactly where he was. And I decided to take the chance, flying to the island without knowing exact location where he was living, and then showed a picture of his bungalow to the local taxi driver.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is tenacious. That's a real stick to it attitude. So obviously when you met him, he was receiving of you at first, or was he suspicious at first, or
He was taking an afternoon nap. After he woke up, he learned about me and my visit and the purpose of my visit. He seemed to be very upset, saying that everything is in the book, just read the book. And I was asking him what else he knew but didn't write in the book. He was very annoyed at my questions.
how did
So
you
how did you
see
get him? How did you get him to talk then?
Well, so I learned, I knew that he liked to play chess, so I played chess with him and lost that game because he was really good. And then meanwhile we were playing, I was trying to sneak in a few questions, but he still refused to answer. But then just 2 days before about to depart, he showed me a contract that he signed with a Chinese publisher, um, asking me to follow up with the publisher because the publisher paid him $2,000 for the royalty for the copyright, and but didn't contact him anymore. So he wanted me to find out if the book was published in China or not. I was very eager to cater to his wishes and to kind of um, help him out, and so that he can maybe give something back to me, the information. And so I tracked the publisher down, and it turned out that the publisher decided not to have the book published in China because of the content, religious content in the book. So Michelle asked me to find a different publisher, and I took on the task. Contacted a lot of publishers in China, in Hong Kong, in Taiwan, or even Singapore. And then after a lot of tries and finally a publisher in China and Taiwan decided to have the book published. And that's when the relationship established. And he asked me to visit him for the second time so that he can tell me the one thing he didn't put in the book, but he had to do that in person.
so that sounds like a law of exchange that I think we do this too. Sometimes we can approach and we desire to get the thing that we need, but sometimes we have to give a little extra effort in exchange for the thing that we actually want. This must have been very powerful for you when he even made contact with you to ask for the second meeting. It must have been really exciting because at that point, had you given up on any extra information, or were you just knowing that if I just stick to this, I know I'm going to get the gems that I want?
You know, before I met him, there was another Australian lady who also met him, but she wasn't interested in the extra information. I was extremely interested. So I kind of kept that in my subconscious mind. Just whenever the opportunity arose, I would ask him if he would be willing to tell me that information. But to my surprise, actually, I hadn't made a move, and he sent me an email saying that Tao, the ET, which is the the ET
Right.
mentor, told him telepathically that he could tell me the one thing that he wasn't allowed to write in the book. So I was quite surprised, and he was also very surprised. So that's why he asked me to go there the second time. I was being very frugal. I was looking for an opportunity, a business trip to go to Asia so that I can travel, save some travel expenses, and to visit him for the second time. And actually, that happened. So I was able to meet him, and I was thinking like, because he told me he would live for a long time, maybe 97, maybe 105 or something like that.
Yeah, because all his family members lived a long time, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And he said he was going to live a long time. So I thought there will be a third time or fourth time to meet with him and ask him additional questions. So I didn't really ask him that many questions the second time I met him. And only like 3 or 4 months later, he passed away
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
so when did he pass away?
in 2018.
Okay, so just 4 years ago, or no, 6 years ago now.
6 years ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that was
So
during your actual visit that he passed away.
No, 4 months after my visit, my
Oh,
second
four
visit.
months.
Yes.
4 months. Oh, okay.
okay, so my burning question is, have you had any contact with the beings from Thiaoouba, or have you had any personal contact with them, whether telepathically or are you able to even say?
No, I haven't had any contacts. In my subconscious mind, I was always asking them not to contact me unless it is absolutely necessary for safety reasons or for my protection, because I think we are all here to learn different lessons, and the best way and the most effective way to learn lessons is through the different challenges, how you respond to different challenges in life. If everything is presented to you, if the food is ready and presented to you, you wouldn't learn anything. You wouldn't learn the process of making the food. And similarly, if the teachers just present the solutions to the answers to you, then you won't have a very good memory because you didn't really put the effort into solving the problems or the questions. So I think the best way is to really explore and to take advantage of the challenges that you encounter in your life, and to learn spiritual lessons.
I think that is commendable because I think we can read other people's books or learn about other people's experience, and instead of trying to duplicate or copy or basically imitate their experience, we need to focus on having our own experiences. I think people can read about someone else's guides and they want those guides to be their guides, and that might not be your path. you know it's creating your own authentic experience and not to um to basically induct yourself into someone else's path. And i I think it took a great bit of groundedness for you to be able to say, hey, I don't want to just do what he did. I want my own path. Like we all, I think I said this to you last night, Terry. Everybody can't be the fry cook. everybody can't. Everybody has their own job. But when you were there with him, were you able to spend time with his family? And did they like adopt you or keep in touch with you? I know I saw this picture of his daughter and him.
No, that's Anya, the other Australian lady
Oh, this
who
is the
met me.
Australian woman.
Yes.
Okay, so did his family did they keep up with you at all or?
Yes, actually, he has two families. He remarried. I mean, he divorced and remarried, and had a Vietnamese wife in his later years after he moved to Vietnam. I'm in touch with his Australian family, his son Peter Desmarque, and his Vietnamese family. His niece was the person who wrote all the emails to me through the dictations of Michel Desmarque, and yeah, so there are two families, and I'm actually closer to Peter Desmarque, the copyright holder of the book right now.
Right. You guys are working together, like you have a mission, right? Because
Yeah,
now when I look at what you're doing, I kind of thought like it's almost as if you became a disciple of the principles of this book, that you want to make sure that everyone knows what's in this book and to make sure that it gets spread. And so what have you been doing to get that book out to everyone?
yes, I've been trying as hard as I can, like as much as I can, and I also hope that others can also talk about the book, not just me. Because if you search online, it's all Samuel Chong talking about the book. I hope others can
Yeah.
join us.
Well, I guess that's why we do the interviews with you, so we can have Samuel Chong talk about the that's our job. Talk about it. So
Yes, I hope others can join me and to start talking about the book.
so will it be printed in other languages? Is that something you all are working on? How many languages is the book in now?
So right now it's in more than 15 languages.
Wow.
We are also working on Turkish and also like a few Arabic language and a few other languages. So it's very popular in China, believe it or not, and Taiwan, uh, because it actually fills the vacuum, the need for spiritual uh, books, spirituality, like the theme. In China, like people have been very focused on the materialistic aspects of their lives, and it's kind of interesting that a lot of people are starting to be awakened and to start to realize that that's not really the purpose of life. So a lot of people are looking for books to increase their awareness and consciousness, and I think this book fills their needs.
Well, I would say it doesn't surprise me that people in China are focusing in on this book or even the pyramids, because when I went there, I noticed a lot of the research is being done by the Oriental Institute, or the Institute for Studies of Ancient Cultures, but the Oriental Institute of Archaeology is, there's signage all over the place. Even and that was instituted in what 1919 or so. And I don't know, have you ever did any investigation into them and their role with studying Egypt and the sites, or is
I think the when I was in Egypt, when I was in Cairo, visiting the Great Pyramids, I met Japanese researchers, and I think the Japanese researchers were really advanced in, or very interested in doing a lot of research on the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx. But I think the Egyptian government has been really reluctant to allow um, foreign researchers to do a lot of investigations, and they're really conservative.
right? And I would think that's kind of faith based, since their faith isn't that these gods are real, or that the gods that are being represented in the temples, that they don't believe, like that's not necessarily their beliefs.
Right, right.
So it's more, I think it's more of a monetary value than a historic value. But I do see how now it's becoming more of a historic value, where I see that the local children are in the temples always, they're taking classes through there. But I was very surprised too to see most of the tours, it's a lot of people from Asian countries that come to visit. It is a lot. And it's interesting too that the Oriental Institute, that started by someone, is it James Henry Breasted, and that was a lead off or shoot from University of Chicago, which University of Chicago does a lot of digging, a lot of research, and it seems to be France as well. Like helping get a lot of this stuff done. So you're right. It's very much outside job rather than inside job. But I guess maybe, and that could probably be due to infrastructure too, as in when you think of the tools that are needed to get these things done. Because like a lot of the temples have had to been moved away from the, flooding areas. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, the actual moving of the temples?
Yeah, I think the Egyptian government is doing their own thing. My primary focus is one of the things that Michel Desmarque revealed in an audio interview, indicating that there are three chambers beneath the Sphinx, and there are a lot of research showing that beneath the Sphinx, it's not just a solid structure, it's actually empty. So people have been suspecting that there kind of something beneath it and trying to investigate. But I think the Egyptian government, I think the Ministry of Archaeology or something, they have been really reluctant to allowing such research done. But I think it's very important to do additional research on that, because Michel Desmarque says once the chambers are opened, the chambers beneath the Sphinx, everything will be known to the world, indicating that there's a great amount of knowledge hidden inside the chambers. This is very interesting because it corroborates with what Edgar Cayce said. He says that the whole of records is hidden or being kept beneath the Sphinx. So the two unrelated people, they all pointed out the same thing: the chambers beneath the Sphinx. I think it does have some validity.
Do you do you think that the information is not available to us because we are in such a lower frequency? Do you think the information is at a higher density, a higher frequency, like say maybe like I'm going to use the word loosely, the fifth dimensional frequency, because that seems to be a buzzword, so I'll use that terminology. But do you think that that's why it's eluded us to this point?
I think it has something to do with it. I'm going to use the language or the terminology that's more acceptable to the more kind of my peers. I would say that we are not ready yet because we are still having a lot of wars fighting against each other, and we are not ready spiritually because the information appears to be very, very powerful in the sense that the users of such knowledge can make it either as a weapon or as a source of energy or something that can benefit humanities. So in a sense, um, the knowledge is kept away from us, just like fire being kept away from small children, because you can use fire to benefit you, but you can also use it to burn you. So that's I think that's what the knowledge is about.
Yeah. Do you find that it's very challenging because more of the general population is um, more open to this than our leaders are? Our leaders have a different and I don't want to get political, but I think people are maybe more open to it if they would be allowed the freedom to information instead of it being subdued.
I think the freedom of information is very important for people to gain knowledge and to rise up against tyranny. Um, if you look at all the great revolutions in the world throughout history, it always came from the bottom, the mass. It's always a bottom up process, not a top down process. So it has to, right, people have to know this and they have to have a concerted action to unite and to do something against the power that's controlling everyone. So actually, I strongly suggest people to read the book because Different Planet, as written in the book, there's a very good example on how it only took only 4 people to change the government regime from a totalitarian regime to a more spiritual democratic regime. So, but it requires people to have the knowledge and to be ready spiritually. So I think when more people read this book and more people are going to be ready and to realize um, what is really going on in the world and to make the right decisions when the opportunities come.
Mhm. You're muted, Erica.
You pointed it out that in the book they do have an example of an extreme governmental change or change, but all the people had to participate for that change to come about. And if we were saying, oh, we don't want a money system anymore, everybody would have to stop shopping. Everybody would have to stop paying electric bills. Everybody, it would have to be consistent, any type of change that was going to happen for us. And I don't know, even with information, because we share information all the time and people blow us off. So it is, like you're saying, there's things people aren't ready for. You could say you don't want to have a monetary system, but there's going to be other people that want a monetary system because it benefits them. And so how can we change that at this point? I mean, what was Michel of the mindset? I guess he knew he was not going to see that in his lifetime.
Mhm. Well, the future depends on our actions, and he wasn't really expecting that to happen in his lifetime. But I don't think it's impossible to occur in our lifetime. It really requires our actions and to see how we respond to the situations, because the future is changeable. It really depends on our collective consciousness, the actions that we make. It's not just predestination. I mean, there's some elements of predestination that this kind of determines our future, but the future really is something that's kind of like I'll give you an example. Like we can see the ants walking on the ground, and the ants can change the directions and to avoid the dangers in front of them, and we can see that, but the ants probably won't be able to see that. They can only see like a limited field of vision in front of them, but they can turn left and to avoid a large stone or maybe like a fire. And similarly, we can change our direction from material focused intent or world to a more spiritually focused world. And I think if everyone is able to do that, I think the world will become a better world.
I definitely do. My mind is stretching at the thought of it being during our lifetime, but I mean, I guess we have a ways to go. um,
I
when
mean,
it was,
the worst that would happen would be if people read the Bible, they're going to see kind of what happened in the past, which is the 2 cities, Sodom and Gomorrah. So they were distracted by what they call God, but actually, according to this book, they were destroyed by the Jehovah's, the Jehovah's, because the people,
right.
yeah,
Right, because in the book it points out, you really got to read this. It really points out some things about the Bible, the inconsistency of the language, calling them men, then calling them angels, then calling them gods at the same time, right? Like 3 different things. So there's this inconsistency that's pointed out by the people of um, writing the book about Sodom and Gomorrah, but I'll let you finish talking about that. You're saying that the people of those cities were distracted, you said?
destroyed because they were so kind of in decay and so morally in decay that they actually punished the people who were compassionate, who were helping the poor. And Sodom and Gomorrah were distracted or destroyed not just because sodomy, it's because of the the people in the two cities were so kind of evil that they kind of, if you have to read the Jewish Bible, I mean the Jewish ancient scriptures, to learn what happened to the two cities. The Bible were kind of abbreviated and focused on the sodomy, which is part of it, but not the entire story. And you can see from the Bible that the people in the two cities were killed, but the people who were on the right path were not destroyed, and they were kept alive. So I think the worst scenario is that in the future, when like a lot of people are in moral in moral decay, I think they are probably not going to be very happy at the result.
Even in the Bible, it says in the book of Micah 3:2, it says you'll hate good and love evil. And I think we can kind of see that today, because a lot of people don't want to be corrected and they don't want to change or move on that level. I won't say a lot of people. I won't say that. Let's say that. Let's say some people don't want to move in that direction. Because I mean, what do you see amongst us now? Like, do you see people? You believe that we can change in this lifetime. What do you believe is happening to us now, like on this, in this regard? Because we've come, 2020 was like this extreme time, and it kind of made us step back, for some of us, to think more about our friendships and relationships and what we value and what we think is important. But you believe that the information is what is affecting us or stopping us. I know you talk about the Bible, you just talked about the Bible, but there's also even the history of the Nicene Council and things like that. So I've seen you talk about that as well.
Yeah, and I think it's important to use intuition and follow your gut feelings to find the right information. In the last few years, because I was a Chinese translator and an interpreter, I was fortunate to access information that a lot of people didn't have access to. And it actually required a lot of kind of common sense and feelings of intuition in order to believe in such information. Um, and I think there is something like a few families or maybe financiers that are running everything behind the scenes and trying to manipulate the media and also the politics. If you look at the politics in the US nowadays, people normally, like people among my peers, like my professional peers, they see the Republicans fighting against the Democrats and vice versa. What they don't see is that there's a group of people that can influence the decisions of the Republicans and Democrats, and they're just like running a puppet show, controlling both the Republicans and Democrats. No matter which party wins the election, they're always able to have them to listen to their demands. So there's a group of international and transnational kind of, I would say, the power and powerful group that's not known to a lot of people. And I happen to, I'm very lucky to have access to such information. And there's a solution to that. And they are enslaving us using our labor to benefit themselves. And the way to counter them is to have a concerted action using non-violent resistance, to have a strike. Because when we have a strike, we lose very little, but they lose humongously. We only lose like maybe like a few $100 or maybe a few $1,000 to most of us, but they will lose like millions and billions of dollars because we are no longer working for them. They are no longer able to use our labor to benefit themselves. But it requires like a concerted action, not just by the people in the US, but by people in all countries in the world. Um, because this group of people is not just Americans. They're Chinese, they're Japanese, they're Italians, they're French. So it has to be a united action by people in all major countries in the world. So only that can change the direction of the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So someone said it's like a bird. A bird has a left wing and a right wing, but it's the head that decides which way it's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's funny because I feel like even when it comes to the people that you see talking the most, talking on TV, or any political opponent that or authority that you have, I don't even think they know who the puppet master is. I think a lot of people are in front of us talking and they don't even know where the information they get comes from. And sometimes people they're taking up certain causes, not just for financial gain. Some people actually believe in the causes that they have, but they don't even know where the motivation comes from. They think that they are genuinely, like, say I was in the military, I was in the army, and I joined after 9/11. You at that time, whatever that it was that was required of me, I would have done earnestly, thinking that I was doing the right thing, because that's what level of information I was exposed to, like you saying, levels of information. And outside of that, I had no negative motivation, but just to survive, protect, and honorably go and do this job.
And I was
So
also hoping that people can have more independent thinking, realizing that a lot of things just didn't make sense, such as the 9/11 incident.
Mm-hmm.
ah yes, yes, yes. There would what would be the motivation to do such a thing when most people really want to survive? They want freedom to eat, drink, and be merry, and to make money and
Have a
sustain life.
house,
Yeah,
have a
to
house
buy
and
homes
food,
and
and
sustain lives, and a lot of people, they want to run their own country. Because I'm noticing this. We can watch the news here, and people say, "Oh, are you afraid to go on a flight to Egypt or places?" And I was, baffled, because if you go other places, they're not thinking about us. I like when I lived in Germany, I asked people, "What do you think about America?" And I go places and ask people how they feel about us, how they feel about our government, and a lot of people are feeling like we interfere, but common people aren't thinking about how to attack us on a daily basis. But I think people don't understand the part about yellow dog journalism. All the way in the early 1900s, whenever they had war, they were, have the cartoon drawings of Japanese people with big teeth, and they would have pictures of Russians with I don't know, I forget what they used to draw pictures for the Russians. They'd be like bears or something. Like they make everyone else out to be monsters, so that we're afraid and we stay within our borders and we don't travel. And so when I was able to travel, I saw people taking flights to Jordan, even though what's going on overseas is happening. I saw people taking flights to Jordan and other places, and no one was thinking about causing these kinds of troubles. And so I think the bigger eyes on the picture want everyone else to focus on these disputes and attacks, and keep us in fear of connecting with one another. I mean, if you even look at our money apps, Cash App doesn't work in China, right? And they have apps in Egypt that don't work over here. We can't send each other money without an interference of some sort. We can't mail each other packages without an interference of some sort. Because if our connectedness were to happen, like you said, these powers that be would lose their control over not just the money, but our minds.
Exactly, that's really true. And it's important to also to know that a lot of the presidents in the U.S. were really not elected, but they were decided beforehand. And I would suggest people to look into the research done by Dr. John Coleman, Coleman. He wrote a book, The Committee of 300, and it talks about how the leaders of specific countries were kind of decided by a small group of people. And I have kind of anecdotal evidence on that. A lot of the presidents, when you see like they first term and second term, they're actually manipulated by this group of people. And a few of the presidents were actually outsiders, like President Kennedy, President Lincoln, and also like a few others. But they were not able to get their second term, or maybe they were got rid of. So was Gandhi in India and Dr. Martin Luther King in the U.S. So those people who are trying to do something good to the country or humanity, they were gotten rid of. But in my mind, I think after reading this book, Thiaoouba Prophecy, it made me realize that the physical body that we all have is just a tool for us to improve our spiritual awareness or spirituality. So I wouldn't mind to be the second Gandhi or Martin Luther King, because the physical body is just something that we use and then give up. And what's important is the spiritual awareness and spirituality. So, but yeah, this is the book I was talking about. It's written actually by a former MI6 intelligence officer of the UK, and he did a lot of great research. And I think it's a very good book.
So, Samuel, so now where you are and what you've learned, how do you, yeah, I mean, you obviously talk about the book and stuff, but what do you see? How do you see implementing it? You know, like you obviously have a very, your mind is such that you're thinking about, you know, so much. So how do you bring forward some of the doctrine or the ideas within the book into our society now? How do you think we can implement that for us in everyday language? Like, how do we move to that next place?
That's what I was going to say. In a bigger question, like you have what you're doing, and how do you, as each one of us reads the book, where should we go from here? If we resonate with this, what do we do? What's the plan?
This is a very good question. I've been thinking about that quite a bit. As I've been trying to promote this book, asking people to read the books, a few of them resonate to the content of the book, but most of them really just either see this as a good book, but really
anecdotal, like an anecdote. Yeah,
anecdote. So what I will be doing is I'm going to use more common sense language and write a different book, revealing the secrets that I know, and the secrets that can benefit people's everyday lives. For example, they can just simply use color to improve their mood and like psychologically as well, such as using green color to improve their conditions of migraines, because there are scientific studies on that. They can also use the red color to increase their energy, and they can use the like blue color to kill germs, and there are studies on that by Harvard Medical School, and it's also mentioned in the book. But I'm going to put in a way that people in like who worry about their livelihood or daily livings are able to accept it more easily than this book, Thiaoouba Prophecy. I realize that the book Thiaoouba Prophecy is probably too advanced for most people to realize the importance. And a lot of people have tried that. They have, like previously, just to try to ask people to read the book. But I think this book is covers so many topics that people are probably not very familiar with. So I'll be writing my own book just from my personal experiences as a Chinese translator and a certified court interpreter, just to reveal all the secret knowledge, information that I learned from different people, and uh, to explain certain things in a more like fundamental level, like very easy, making it more easily understood by most people.
True, it would be more palatable for common or mainstream people without the aliens, right?
Yeah,
Like you're
definitely.
just because you could totally, yeah, it's true. I guess he could have totally told that story without aliens, but I guess he had to explain to people, why do I know this thing that I've never studied before, and then he was able to sit down and write it. But with your research, because this is a very small book, like with your research, I'm expecting this book is gonna be like this thick. Because
I know.
you got the Nicene Council, you got the parts about the more information about the Bible, more about the pyramids, more about color therapy and different science, then delving into economics and why the changes he was suggesting would actually work economically
Yes.
for us.
Yeah, I think because I have a financial background, economics background,
Yeah.
so I can focus on that a little bit as well, which is really to follow your heart. Because once you know how the financiers do certain things, you're going to know that they have a kind of their group, and they know the information in advance than anyone else. If you want to play the stock market, you're probably not going to have an upper hand because they
Mhm.
know the Federal Reserve Bank what they're going to be doing ahead of you, so you are not going to have advantage over them.
Oh my
But
God.
yeah, and also, but the key is to really kind of focus on what you enjoy doing in your lifetime, and that's the key. And the money will come later.
Mhm.
And to make it more specific, it's just to follow your heart and have a specific plan, and to engrave in your subconscious mind that you're going to do this for the benefit of the people and also benefit of yourself financially. If you have that subconscious mind um, ready, I think everything is going to come into place.
Mm.
True, making a connection between your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. Now,
Yes.
I had this book, but what I was looking for just now is this book, because I did used to study finance and insurance companies, and there was a book we read called Rigged, and all a person has to do is go on the news and say a certain word, and they can crash the stock market, and they know that they can cause the market to crash. And so a lot of the things people want to invest in, even Bitcoin and things like that, I think it's really risky, because there's all it takes is a few people to come on and make these suggestions about what will happen with the market, and it will happen. Um, is that something also that you would discuss? Is things like I don't know, outside of Bitcoin, these
You know,
mining coins, which does not, yeah.
if people really want to invest in the stock market, they first should know the Federal Reserve Bank's interest policies, where the interest rates are going to go, because you are not going to win the market when the interest rates go up. But when they plan to reduce the interest rates, then that's the time to really to focus on that. And also in specific industry wise, I think people have been paying a lot of attention to AI, artificial intelligence. But what they should also realize is that semiconductors or chips are also very important players in the industry. So are quantum computing, because artificial intelligence requires a lot of computing power. And the only way to get through that is to utilize quantum computing. So that's the biggest potential in the future. Um, But I wouldn't
You're
suggest.
fast, Samuel. You can't be so fast now. Because you talked about when interest rates go up, that's not really the key. It's really when things are crashing and you can short the market, because you can gamble against the market and make more money than you could when things are good, right?
Yes, but the timing is going to be crucial when you're shorting the market. Yeah.
Right. But if you're the one who creates the timing and the crash, I guess it's perfect timing,
Yeah,
you know?
that's right.
So I did interrupt you. I'm sorry, because you were going past finances into something else, but I did.
Yeah. But
Only
I think putting a lot of time and efforts into the financial market is not uh, going to benefit someone spiritually. So when everyone dies, like when I die, the money that I accumulate won't come with me after I die. Just like Napoleon, just like Hitler, like when they died, they just weren't able to take away anything they gained in their lifetime. But what they can take away is their spiritual lessons, the lessons that they learned. For example, I would say like if you were to ask me to choose between like $1 billion or helping like a beggar on the street, I would choose helping the beggar on the street because I know that's going to help me spiritually. So when I die, the key is that everything will be revealed. So a lot of research have shown that actually, if you talk to the near-death experiencers, people who have near-death experiences, they're going to say like there's a preview, there's a review of their lifetime. Everything they did will be shown to them just like a holographic film. So when I helped the beggar on the street, I would be able to feel the appreciation felt by the beggar on the street, and that's going to improve my psyche, my spiritual awareness, the spirituality. Um, but gaining like $1 billion is not going to help me spiritually at all.
Well,
Exactly.
there's that law of compensation. That's why I like the universal laws, because I like to say that everything that we do is compensated. That's good and bad. Um, One thing that you I got lost in your thoughts, but I wanted to add, like you said, they know everything that's happening, everything that's going on, and we know that the system is rigged. But even to the point where when you do make money, when you hit a certain ceiling, that triggers, they know how much money you have in your bank. Like you're being watched. Your bank accounts are being watched when it hits a certain level, whether it be Bitcoin or your regular bank account or any investment account. Like you now become known as, how is this person winning? And if they see you consistently winning too, like you're just being monitored. And I just wanted to point that out too, right?
Yeah, and actually, believe it or not, I probably won't be able to reveal this publicly, but I have friends who got to know the people who can just make money appear. I'm not talking about magicians. I'm talking about people in the financial system who have the ability and capability to just print money out. I'm not talking about counterfeits. I'm talking about the people in the formal, the international banking system that can just make money appear, just make money appear just out of nothing. They can use financial instruments and then through a very complicated process and to make Warren Buffett or people who like Jeff Bezos appear like little men.
Right. I think it's interesting because they always talk about the richest people in the world and they show these pictures and it's like, those aren't the richest people in the world. You don't know the richest people in the world. But they're always printing that and publishing that.
And just to let you know, I know that those people uh, know beforehand who is going to become the president of major countries. and I have verified such information, and it's true. If you read the Community of 300, you're going to see there's a lot of truth in it.
Mhm.
Well, that's on the book. That's definitely on the book list now.
And so, just switching a little bit on the stream there. So, after Michel passed away, and I know that they've been talking about ghosts and stuff. Have you had any contact with him? Lots of questions here. Do you meditate? Do you go into an expanded state of consciousness? Are you able to tap into that higher stream of information? And have you had any contact with Michel?
Well, I use meditation to guide me when trying to make a decision in my life, using my intuition or my higher self to give me like a guidance. I haven't really been in touch with Michel Desmarque's spirit after he passed away, but I had some dreams about him. But I think meditation is very useful too for everyone to when they encounter challenges in life, just to find solutions or make decisions.
And what type of meditation do you practice?
I would just sit here and straight and use my to decrease the speed of my breathing, and just to relax and let my mind go wherever it flows, and just do that.
Mm-hmm. Sort of like a mindfulness type of a meditation or a
Yes,
contemplation, that sort of.
yes. And I try to also do some hypnosis, but I wasn't able to be hypnotized. I wanted to find what my past life was like, but I haven't been able to um, to have a successful past life regression session yet.
Okay.
I missed most of that. So when it comes, you're basically we talk about being floating outside versus being in. So you're very much just grounded into your purpose and what it is that you're focusing on. And I don't know, you talked about the secret or that he told you that he wasn't able to speak about in public. Is that something that you have spoken about? Can you spoke about? Because you didn't give anybody a promise. Or is it something that you would include in your book in the future?
When Michel Desmarque told me about that, I was shocked because that information requires people with a lot of real world knowledge in order to grasp. And he told me, he asked me not to share it with anyone else because Tao told him and to tell me not to share it with anyone else. But what he didn't tell me was to not to write a article and revealing as many clues as possible. And that's what I did. So I wrote an article and I revealed as much information as possible about that information that he was able to tell me. And that article is titled The Second Coming of Jesus Christ. And I can share that article with anyone who is interested. But the key is just to read the book of Thiaoouba prophecy and to really know what the focus of the book is. Let me see. I'm gonna share the link to you. Join the chat, and I cannot. I'll put it in the private chat. Maybe you can share it with anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the title is Will Jesus Come Back? The Second Coming of Jesus Christ, and what you need to do for preparation. So this is the article, giving a lot of clues to the information that Michel Desmarque didn't write in the book.
You're muted, Erica.
Were you able to share it on? I don't know how you can share it.
It's on the private chat.
Oh, bam. Okay. I can do that. I can share it, and then I can also share the link to it. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. I didn't know. Waiting on me. Bam. Okay. And I will put it in the comments so anybody else can find it in the comments. There you go.
Thank you. Thank you, Samuel.
Are we reading it or are we?
How is it long? Why don't you read it?
Or is he explaining it?
You only do well. I think people should read the book first and to get a grasp of what Michel Desmarque knew and learned about it, and then read this article in order to have a better understanding.
Since you say that, there is another person. Oh gosh, there's the Law of the Sun. I don't know if you've watched that or read it. The Law of the Sun.
No, I haven't read that.
Okay, and it talked about a lot about how the beginning of this planet was. Just a second. I'm sorry. And oh wow. Okay, it's a gentleman. I just wondered if you had read anything by him. Ryuhu Okawa, and he has this book called Twice Born. I might have to turn my light off.
No, I haven't read that.
Okay. Okay, because I know you want to stay on topic. You had said about the Sphinx. I asked you, what should I look for when I go? I went to the Sphinx, but unfortunately, it was so crowded and I was not able to even get close to the paw of the Sphinx. But I will say that when I went, I did my little meditation time to myself, a quick bit, and no big deal, right? But when I came back, I would say this, my cat was out of control. And before I ever went to Egypt, my cat had sent me a message, or like he had went to a medium and she gave me a message, and she said that the energies in Egypt are still there, that they weren't all taken, and that there's still much for us to find, not just in the physical, but energy wise. And the message was that, that you'll bring back these keys. So when I came back, since then, my cat has been like sleeping on top of my head and like purring in my face. And I'm like, give me some room. But I sat down and closed my eyes next to him, and I just saw us covered in these little orbs and things like that. But I didn't know if you could tell us any more what you know about the energy of the Sphinx and what it brings about to have that kind of contact with the soil or with the monuments as we go over there. What do you, as you said, your action plan, what do you think we should be focusing on, or what is your suggestion when we go?
I think I tried to get close to the Sphinx, but I couldn't when I was in Egypt last time. I think the way to go is just to kind of meditate around the Sphinx and also just to relax and feel the nature in Egypt, and also especially go to the desert, because I think it's a very kind of unique place for people to get connected with nature. So I think it's going to be a long time until we are able to explore what's beneath the Sphinx. I think it's going to take maybe a few more decades until we are able to do that. So because you see so many wars are going on and people are trying to be awakened but not yet, and so I mean, most people, as more and more are being awakened. So I would say just go with the flow and be in nature. And actually, there's this book talks about the levitation, being able to float the body. And Dr. Stephen Greer says that when he was young, he actually had a levitation experience when he was um, meshed with nature. He was totally relaxed, and also just felt that he was part of nature. And then he began to levitate. So I think people just might want to give that a try.
So definitely, just, yeah, focusing and spending that time trying to challenge ourselves in a new way rather than just. I think I don't know. I don't know how you feel, Terri, but I think once you get the mastering of meditation, I don't think it's required that you do this, every day. Like now it's okay. It's like now you've mastered this. Now what? Now on to the next. Like what else? What else can you challenge yourself to do? I don't know, Terri. What do you think?
Well, I find I've been meditating for many years, and I think that we're constantly honing that ability, but there gets to a point where life is a meditation, and when we connect like through our heart space, then we have access to our higher self, and so we have guidance, we have information that we can get downloaded, but it doesn't happen. You have to allow yourself to learn how to center and how to connect. And so many people just say, well, I can't meditate, I can't quiet my mind. Well, part of the thing about learning to meditate is allowing the mind to have that chatter and then just taking control of that chatter and say, you know what, we'll deal with that later. But you have an ability to find that focus and see that there's more around us, that we're just not programmed. We have to deprogram ourselves.
And I would also say on our little hero's journey, sometimes we think we need every crystal, we think we need to do everything. And I don't know, even if you can't go to Egypt, like you said, if you can meditate on this, it's not even just necessarily levitating out of levitating the body, but levitating the mind to this point where you can connect with all points on earth. I feel like I can leave energy there and connect to it later. But I guess I feel that I want people to be encouraged if they feel discouraged that they aren't able to go at that time, that you could use pictures or you could use meditation to actually connect to that energy. That at this point that we are so much more powerful than we honestly can understand, that at any point we can connect to this energy if it belongs to us. I know whenever I go, I'm always saying to myself, like, I connect to the energy that belongs to me and I leave behind the rest. So anything that doesn't belong to me, I don't want it. But if there's something there for me, then I claim it for myself. And I would like to know what you have to say about that, Samuel. Like thoughts.
Yeah, I think connecting to your higher self is probably the most important way to really have guidance. And meditation is actually one of the ways to connect to your higher self. And the other way is to have a very good, quiet sleep. So through dreams, you can also connect with your higher self. So I've tried a lot of different ways to meditate. And I think it's just very simple, just relax in total relaxation mode and to slow down your breathing. And that's probably the easy way to go about it. And also meditation is actually very good for the human energy field, the auras. And a lot of people say that after meditation, the colors of the auras improved. So I think this is actually another topic mentioned in the book, the human energy field or auras. I actually have done quite a bit of research on that. and visited a lot of people who can see auras and different colors, and very interesting information.
No kidding. I wish I could see. As I have people tell me like, "Oh, I see this color over you," and I really wish I could.
Do you know? If you know people who can see the colors of auras, please let me know. Introduce me to them, because I'm doing some research on that.
Okay, I gotta write that down.
Yeah.
Have you looked into like the Kirilen photography where they take pictures of the auras?
Yes. Yeah, the Dr. Korokov, I think they have a BioWell machine or GVD machine that can do that. It's very accurate in predicting a person's health. But you have to put your finger on the sensor in order to have it read. I'm trying to develop something that doesn't require you to put your finger on sensor. And that machine, GVD machine, can only capture the auras of the fingertip. Doesn't capture the aura of the entire body. So I think aura readers are actually more
accurate,
actually important. Yeah.
And I know that we asked lots of questions, but I don't know if you got to speak about all the, like, maybe some points that you had set aside that you wanted to be sure to hit on while you were here. Because I think I was really just very much focused on your background of what charges the mind, and even the fact that you were so prepared before you read the book to go into research about this subject. Like they say, when the teacher is ready, the student will appear. That you all were divinely appointed and put together because you'd already done all this other study and research that had prepared you for this book and this taking this on as a mission moving forward. But
yeah, thank you for saying that. I think the most important thing that people should know is knowledge is power. So I know you work in a health related field, and I think a lot of information, if people know about it, can really benefit people's health. For example, if you know what really causes cancer, you're going to kind of want to read the book Thyroid Healing by Anthony William, because it says it's not just the toxins, it's not just the chemicals, and it's not just a virus. It's a combination of toxins and virus that causes cancer, majority of cancer. So the way to really heal is to cleanse yourself and to really use the different ways to eliminate or kind of get rid of the viruses. So that really explains a lot of things that people have been wondering about. Like a lady who never smoked in her entire life got lung cancer. Or like, yes, this is a book. Or like a person, like an old man who smoked his entire life but didn't die of lung cancer. So this book actually explains why people get cancer. And also, he has a lot of useful information, such as the real causes of diabetes and high cholesterol and high blood pressure and things like that. So this is like knowledge that people can really take advantage of to improve their health. And I think it's extremely helpful to have such knowledge. And so is financial knowledge. Like if you know how the financial system works, then you're going to know not to get too involved in it, because no matter how wealthy you are, like Jeff Bezos or like Ray Dalio and people like those, you are not able to compete with people who can just make money appear in the system. So it's a win. It's a win. It's like I feel bad for Warren Buffett. He dedicated his entire life investing in so many wonderful companies, making a lot of wealth. But at the end, he's able to realize he's probably going to realize that there are people who can just print more money than he could possibly make in his entire life, maybe possibly 10 of his lifetimes. So I really feel bad about Warren Buffett, to be serious. And people need to have the knowledge about the real important things in life is to help people and to be compassionate. That's the real message of this book. Is that's the focus on how you can improve your spirituality, and that's the key, the most important information on how people can live a better life and to be um, to move up the ladder. Because in the universe there are different I would say categories of planets or different vibrations of planets. We are here on Earth, a very low vibration, very low level category of planet. But once you improve your psyche or spirituality, you can move up the ladder and to live on a better planet. And the ETs actually come from category 9 planet, and they can perform all the miracles performed by Christ, like resurrecting the dead, levitating and making or manifest material objects, and like that, and communicating through telepathy. And I think it's important to know what's important in life.
That's awesome. I know at one point, like I worked in financial services, and everyone's goal was, well, they would tell us anyway, do this for 2 or 3 years and make lots of money, and then you can spend time with your family. And when I started, I was more in the mindset of, I'm going to make money and become like this doomsday prepper and put a bunker under my house. Like I was, I was like this is going to be my vehicle. But as I began to spend more and more time, what I was seeing that people who were feeling the crunch or needy, it's just not a good thing. Like when you need rent money to be in a business like that, because people would cut corners and maybe be vulnerable to inconsistencies. Let's just say that. And they would become a little less, they would become unscrupulous is what I saw. And it was a lot to present yourself as a person that has all this money. And then this idea of go. And at 2020, my thought was, well, if people literally thought we were going to die, wouldn't it be more important to go and spend time with my son? Would my son really want all my money when I die? Or, or would he have been like, well, she spent 5 years in the office, I don't know her, when you think about people who have bad relationships with their parents, it's usually the parent is busy working and the kids are alone, and the kids, they're not thinking about the house or the food or even the amount of money that is left in the bank. And usually those people, they don't really even leave that much money for their kids anyway. Like they don't really leave anything, like you're saying. Even Warren Buffett is like, is this enough money? And I got to the point where I thought about it too. If I have food today and I have a place to live and I'm not hot, cold, or starving, how much more do I really need? If you're comfortable in your home and in your skin, how much more do you need? Not to say that, the whole world doesn't belong to us and we shouldn't travel and we shouldn't, be comfortable or have nice things. But when you put the idea of the money and the objects against the actual joy of living, that's when there's the problem. The having plenty, because I think people want to eat the rich in a way, but having plenty does not make you bad or evil, better or worse, because we can also share it with others. We can put it into the system of giving and being generous. And that was another thing too. When I worked at the financial work with finances, I thought, well, the more I have, I could build buildings and I could give food and I could do all these things. But I think there's this idea that having is bad. And I think there's a problem with that, because I feel like the creator of the universe would want us to be abundant. All things belong to us. I don't know if you would speak on that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can have abundance by being self-sufficient in a lot of things. For example, growing your own food or in your garden. I think that's going to be more beneficial for your health than just buying kind of non-organic food from the supermarket. And I can speak on that because not only humans have biofuels or human energy fuels, the plants and also animals, especially plants, they also have energy fuels or the energy. Organic food or the food that you grow in your garden, they have stronger energies or energy fuels than the food that are non-organic sold on the supermarket in the supermarket. So by eating organic food or your own food that you grow in your garden, you absorb more energy, and that's healthier, much more healthier than the food that you buy from the groceries. And also try to eat natural foods. The processed foods don't have a lot of energy or energy fuels. If you eat natural foods like fruit and vegetables and grains, those are going to provide you with much more nutrients than just like McDonald's or like a lot of foods with chemicals or additives or natural so-called natural flavors. It's also important to have the knowledge that a lot of corporations focus on the interests of their shareholders. So they want to gain more revenue. So they tend to divert the interest. So, for example, if you have a pharmaceutical company and you give them two options. One is to cure diabetes, and the other is to provide them with a way to kind of alleviate the symptoms, but not curing diabetes. They're probably going to choose the latter one. Because once you cure diabetes, then a lot of people are not going to be reliant on the drugs that they manufacture or sell, so that they won't be able to have a stream of income or residual income anymore. So it's important to know the interests of the big pharmaceutical companies versus the interests of your own, which is to have better health. This is why information or knowledge is such importance that people need to have more independent thinking and not to be reliant on your, I would say, the media or maybe some of the doctors. Some doctors are good. Some doctors are just trying to sell what the pharmaceutical companies sell. And also, you have to consider the interests of the defense companies because they rely on wars to sell their weapons. So you have to know that the shareholders, their shareholders, have to make a living and to keep the companies profitable. So the wars are created and recreated. If you ask the people, they don't want wars, but if you ask the shareholders of the defense companies, of course, they would like to see more wars going on. And things like that. It's just common sense. People need to realize what's important and what the interests of the companies are and what the interests of the government are, and just be mindful of the things that you hear and learn from the media.
I think we're guided not to have that critical thinking, right? They don't want us to question, and so we are being corralled in other ways to keep our minds from investigating. And I think maybe our education system has changed people not to question things anymore. You know, I can remember when I was my first year in university, my history professor said, you know, at our first class, he said, "Do you believe everything you see on television or read in the paper?" and he taught us that it was important to question the scenario. And he always said that history is written by the victors. So those were things that were very profound many years ago when I was 18 years old. Those things stuck in my mind. But I think that we've digressed from that. We're not the same as we used to be. We don't question now. We just take it for granted what we're told.
Well, they do a pretty good job of keeping us inundated with information you don't need. So there's lots of, you can see all these pop-ups about what these celebrities are doing, what other countries are doing. There's so much information we don't need. I've actually got to the point where I deleted my Facebook app so that I wouldn't look at reels of people dancing and doing God knows what. Like, I post on things, but there's so much stuff coming at you that you got to swim through basically a sewage system of garbage. And then you accidentally get involved in these conversations that are completely pointless and purposeless. Or I was in Egypt and I accidentally watched the news. At home, I'm good. I don't have regular television. So I accidentally watched the news for 5 minutes and my chest was pounding because it was so chaotic. And it wasn't just what was going on in Israel. It was all over Europe, and it was very overwhelming. And so you see some people fall asleep watching it. Like, I have a family member that falls asleep watching the news. I don't know how. I can't even watch a good video. I can't fall asleep watching a YouTube video because I'll get so excited by the information that I'm like, oh, let me look this up. That's how I am. So just watching so much information that doesn't belong to you, and then also creating wars and riots and racial tension. I feel like they've taken us back, 40, 50 years by pronouncing a scenario that most of us don't really even know if it's true or not. That's how I feel about it. I'm sorry. They said that there's a wall in Mexico. I haven't put my hands on the wall, so I don't know if there is one. Like, that's how serious I am about, I don't know if that's true or not. If I can't put my hands on it, I don't know if it's true. And so we're constantly being bombarded with all this information that we don't even know what's true. And if you want to understand this, good to the point where if you look it up, Hondas suck, and you'll find all these people that say Hondas suck, and you can look it up. Hondas are the best car. And so who do you believe when you have whatever story you want? And like you said, Samuel, you said your intuition has to kick in, right?
Yeah. That's what I do because I receive a lot of conflicting information. One thing I do is that I check a lot of the sources and also follow my intuition because some ETs sent messages say that the pyramid was built by 400,000 slaves in a 40-year period of time. That didn't really make a lot of sense. So I just discarded the information. But this book, Thiaoouba Prophecy, talks about how they built it using anti-gravitational technologies and supersonic vibratory systems, and that makes perfect sense. So I keep it. So this is how I determine which information is authentic.
And how can people find you? What is it that you're doing now? Like, where can people find you? Do you have an email that you want to share? Any more books that you want to share? Anything? I don't know if you guys can see this chat. I don't know if maybe I'm in control of the chat, but if you have anything you want me to copy and paste into the chat so people know where to find you and such.
Yeah, people can follow me on Facebook because actually I was tempted to say certain information here, but I know it's going to get censored, so I didn't. I stopped. But I can.
Well, maybe we can schedule some private. You need to schedule something private for us.
Yeah. Okay.
We can have a private Zoom and we can hang out with Samuel and let him Give us the scoop. Or you can forget everybody. You can just tell me, and I'll keep it a secret. No, I was kidding. Like, I'll keep it a secret.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we can talk more about it. It's actually health related, and I see that
Oh,
is kind of important. Yeah, being Chinese, I have kind of information, insider information, so it's kind of interesting.
and because you just said that, though, when he made claims about the planet in the beginning of the planet where Black people and Asian people come from, have you found people that are like, hell no, this isn't true, or that it's been pretty acceptable now that you've been around with the book when it comes to Asian people? Because honestly, you know, you hear the term Asiatic Black man, and then there are a lot of the statues in the temples. Like if I looked at Hatshepsut, I would say she's possibly Asian. Like when I'm looking at some of the statues, you can see that they're of different ethnicities or different these characteristics. And then, you know, I saw too how, you know, and when they had that thing about Cleopatra, there's some people who are saying, no, these people have Negroid features. And I'm like, you can't really say what is actually a Negroid feature, because I've seen people that are Black, white, or Asian, and they have very similar structures, very different. Like your eyes are different, but I've seen my uncle has eyes like you. You know what I mean? Like I know people that are different races and they still have things in common. It's not so simply divided by the way that people would like to say that Black people look like this, white people look like this. You have people, these genetics are so mixed up.
Yeah, we all came from different planets, and also I feel a lot of affinity with Black people or African Americans, and actually the people in Africa as well. So I don't know why, but I feel a lot of affinity. But in the original planet where we came from, the blacks and the yellows didn't really mix. But here on Earth, we
Right.
yes. But here we mixed together, so that's the reason.
Yeah.
And the Caucasians actually came much later, and the Jewish people came the latest. And actually, if you really look at history, the blacks and the yellows were fairly advanced. Until the Polynesians came from a different planet, they were far more advanced than the blacks and the yellows because of the Great Reset that happened afterwards. So the Polynesians became very, very advanced for a certain period of time, and then the continent sunk, Lemuria sunk into the ocean. So that's another great reset. And then it's not until in the last few hundred years that the Caucasians became more so-called technologically more advanced. And yeah, but it's nowhere compared to the Hebrews and the Jewish people. So I think this is a very complicated story. I would strongly suggest people to look at the book, to read the book. Yeah.
Fabulous. Fabulous. And I'm glad we can spend this time with you. And will we see you in May? Will you be in?
No, actually, I'm not going to be going there in May, but I probably will attend other conferences.
Well, anything you do, if you let me know,
Okay.
and we'll share it if you want people to come hang out and visit or join you on a Zoom or whatever. I totally enjoyed talking to you, and I love how technical you were during the presentation when it came to the colors and anything. So we here are open books, and I want to tell the folks, because we got Jax and Allie and Sandy and Nikki and Matthew Morning joined us, and Kiki and our admin over there, Eddie over in Nigeria, he joined. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Please remember to share, like, and subscribe check out these links. We got some good books in here, and connect. And I love listening to audiobooks. I'm not telling you guys you got to get it from Amazon, but I just put those links because those are the easiest ones to find. But man, this is great, and I really just appreciate it. It's a wonderful Thursday afternoon to spend time with you and Terri.
No,
Okay,
Sam, it's you've shared so much, and I'm sure that people are just really excited with some of the information that you shared, and I think it's so important for us to bring. There is that higher information, but we have to bring it down so that people can put it into practice in their everyday life. And so I think that you are someone who is making it your mission to do that. So we honor and appreciate that from you. And thank you for sharing all of the information that you have today. We appreciate that.
And thank you for having me.
And I do wonder, because I heard this before, if you put saliva on your seeds before you plant them, that the plant will grow and give you the things that you need because now it's coated with your DNA or something like that. I asked Matthew, but if someone has the answer to this question, please let us know. And we'll end it here.